All right, boom, we are live with another episode of the Brown Water Banter podcast. I am Jared Seymour.
My name is Joey Cates.
That's right, and we're coming to you virtual, man. Sometimes we have to do that. We have a great guest today that's not here locally, so this is the best way to do it. But we have Dave from the Release Over 20 initiative. It's a cool conservation stuff. Conservation is one of the topics that we've talked about a few times on the show with some of the captains here locally. And Dave's got a great movement that he started with the Release Over 20 for speckled trout or spotted sea trout, if you want to call them by their appropriate name. We're going to have him here talking about why he got it started, what it means, and what he's trying to do for the speckled trout population. But before we do that, we want to thank our sponsors like we always do. Starting out with Dr. Robbie Williams. I'm going to flash him on the screen here for you people. Southern Magnolia Smiles in Ocean Springs on Washington Avenue. If you're looking for a great local dentist, he's the guy, man. He's got a great team over there. They'll take care of you. He's into all the outdoor stuff just like we are, and he's been a sponsor of the show. We appreciate it. Look him up on Facebook or Instagram at Southern Magnolia Smiles, or you can check them out on their website at southernmagnoliasmiles.com. Call them on the landline at 228-215-1202. We also want to mention Hilltree Marketing. If you're a local business, a local anything, and you need a website, they do website and graphic design, social media management, IT services, videography, photography, and area cinematography, which means they have a kick-ass drone. They can get you some real cool footage. Check them out at hilltreemarketing.com. They are local. Jesse Hill is a local guy. He's doing our website for us right now. We're super excited. We saw some of the stuff that he's got. He's done a phenomenal job. We can't wait to roll that out and show it to y'all. If you're looking for a local guy who can take care of some of this stuff for you, small business owners, man, get that off your plate. Let him take care of it for you. Coming up in May the 29th, as a matter of fact, in downtown Ocean Springs, it's the Downtown Ocean Springs Crawfish Cook-Off.
That's a heck of a name.
Appropriately named. That's right. It's going to be 22 teams cooking over 2,000 pounds of crawfish. You buy your admission ticket. You go down there. You sample all the different teams. You vote for who's best. It's going to be a damn good time. They're going to have crawfish and beer. I really don't know what else you could possibly want out of life. Also would make a good apparel line, crawfish and beer, Joey. We should start something like that.
Yeah. Be cool.
Shout out to Jordan and Matthew. And finally here, we want to thank Mr. Bill over at the Harrison County Development Commission. These guys are bringing in and managing a lot of stuff over in Harrison County. They bring in some really cool businesses. And they do a program that we specifically like to mention is the SEED program, where they take high school kids and allow them to shadow at jobs. They place them with companies locally in fields that they're interested in to get them the experience and a little taste of what they may do before they go off and spend a bunch of money on a college education. Kind of allows them to sample the industry before they jump in. And if they like it and they continue with it, gives them a little bit of job experience and possibly matches them with a future employer right out of the gate. So super cool stuff over there. Look them up online. They're Harrison County Development Commission, and we appreciate them sponsoring the show. So let's get Dave in here. Stop hearing me jib-jab about
there's a lot of jib-jabbing.
A lot of jib-jabbing going on. Dave, man, how are you doing today?
I'm good. How are you? I appreciate you having me on the show, and just want to say I'm a fan of the podcast. Y'all do a great job, producing it. And I wish I could come down there and been in the studio, but maybe in the near future, I want to come down and hang out with Kyle, your last guest. And
that's going to be killer. Get both.
Maybe we could all get together then. That'd be cool, even if it's just for a beer or something.
Dude, that would be amazing. Here he is already in the comment section. Look, you say his name. And he already busted on the first comment. Yeah, Kyle, I took the hat off today. I wanted to make sure everybody knew, bald is beautiful, and I'm proud. So I appreciate the comment, sir. But no, yeah, that's Kyle and those guys is who we've talked about this program before, or an initiative. Is that how you refer to it, an initiative?
Yeah, initiative.
Yeah. And the Speckled Truth guys, is how I heard about it. Joey, I'm assuming you as well, right?
Yeah, same way. I saw, one of Kyle's pictures was he had a Release Over 20 banner on it, and I clicked it, and of course, everything from your site pulled up. So I just kind of dug into it. If you could just give us your background, man, and how everything just kind of came about.
Yeah, I'd be glad to. I'm a little bit new to saltwater fishing, to be honest. I've been doing about 15 years, and most people have been doing it their whole lives. That wasn't me. I'm kind of a damn Yankee. I'm originally from Western New York, and I moved to Charleston, South Carolina with a company. This was in '97, so I've been here almost half my life. But started fishing only in like 2006, I think. But kind of, I have kind of a history in my life of when I see certain things, I dive into them head first, and especially if it's hard to do. I'm a former pole vaulter. I used to ride dirt bikes, used to windsurf, golf, and fishing is just kind of the latest incarnation of that. Once I started getting into it, I just was like reading everything I could, and fortunate to have been told from people I respect in the angling community that I was like probably the fastest learning fisherman I've ever seen. So I've been lucky to have a mentor. My business partner, Ralph Phillips, is like a legendary fisherman. He was one of 3 original guides here in Charleston, and he took me under his wing and kind of taught me his ways, and I'm enjoying paying it forward. And we founded Ice Strike Fishing together in 2014, and it's been really successful. And this Release Over 20 has kind of been a passion project of mine, and it originated because I've been doing this myself for about 10 years. I just kind of started learning about and understanding that most big fish are female and that they spawn. And also, to be honest, a little bit of a personal, selfish reason is that I want to catch more big quality fish. And I think we all do. But yeah. I figured, there's a little bit of frustration with our state as well. Regulation is not keeping up. And I figured, what can I do on a personal level? And I can just make my own limits more restrictive than the law. If I want an upper slot for trout, I just make my own. And that's what I've done. And I just chose 20 inches. So that's kind of the origin of Release Over 20, although it's not just about trout and it's not just about 20 inches. I'd like to, and I'll talk about that in a little bit, but something I've been doing myself and social media and forums. I just would, maybe show me a picture of me releasing a fish, and I'd say, this is why I do it. And there are the reasons why. And, you put yourself out there and you don't always know if anyone's paying attention. You probably noticed on the podcast too, like you don't always get feedback until you're walking down the street and someone says, hey man, I love that podcast. It's great. Yeah. Well, I would go to there's a local expo here and meet people from the other part of the state or maybe a different state. And they'd say, I saw your post on releasing big trout, and I thought it was really made a lot of sense, and now I do it too. And so I was kind of mulling in my head, I'd like to make this kind of initiative, but I often have low confidence in my ideas, and I'm like, I don't think anyone's going to buy it, or it's not going to go anywhere. And I was saying that exact same thing on a podcast in Eastern Current up in Wilmington, North Carolina. And Joe Neely from the CCA in North Carolina contacted me afterwards after he heard the podcast and said, this is something that's legit and we need to kick this off. So he sort of provided the kick in the ass that I needed and a little bit of support, and they continue to be a big supporter, and really a partner, but they're kind of in a supporting role. So ever since then, I've sort of taken it and run with it. And it's almost been a year now. It's growing like crazy. And from Virginia to Texas, it's been amazing, the response to it.
Man, that's crazy. I didn't realize it's only a year. That's awesome.
So,
yeah. It definitely has caught some traction, because I like Joey, I see it online all the time now. And what a great initiative. Way to take the bull by the horns, and do it yourself. I was reading on the Facebook group, and that the Release Over 20 people you watching and listening, go check it out. If you're not a member, join it. The bio you have on there, you mentioned a lot of it, like the North Carolina is a little bit different, where the state legislature manages your natural resources versus the Department of Marine Resources, what we have, right? A little bit different up there. Is that, am I understanding that right?
Yeah. But okay. So I'm in South Carolina. It's kind of weird that North Carolina is my partner on this, but just how it worked out.
Okay.
But really I consider it to be a nationwide thing.
Right.
It's not really South Carolina, but yeah, that was where the frustration came. When I said, like, I started doing this 10 years ago, one of the reasons was that I asked a person that I know, and I just to protect him, I won't say who it is, but he had a lot of close interaction with how laws are made. And I said, what's the chance of there ever being an upper slot for trout? And he said, it's never going to happen in South Carolina. It's the way it's set up. It's like, it's complicated, but the DNR doesn't really, all they can do is suggest something, and the state government is the one that makes a decision. And often it comes down to a few individuals. So it's pretty frustrating. I think the resource is not the primary concern. It's protecting, like, the history of what's happened in the past. And people don't, obviously no one wants to give up freedoms and regulations. And I get that, but sometimes I think the resource really should come first, and adapt to changing scenarios. For example, you have compounding things happening right now, and it's all significant. So I want to ask you if this is also true in your state. So if you talk to an old timer and they ask you how the fishing used to be, what do they say?
Yeah, it was way better than it was now.
Way better than it was. Okay. How about, do you have declining habitat?
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. How about pollution, increasing pollution, runoff?
Absolutely.
Fertilizer?
Factories, more everything. Yeah.
How about pressure on the fishery? More people fishing than ever?
Everybody owns a boat.
Everybody owns a boat. How about technology and YouTube and teaching? Can someone starting out fishing be more effective sooner than ever?
That's what we're doing right now.
Yeah.
I think that's the only reason Kyle can catch fish.
Okay, and then my last question is, are the state regulations keeping pace with all that?
No.
No, I don't think so. I mean, they have raised ours a little bit, but as far as the upper, the cap on the big trout, they haven't done anything. It's always the numbers they're worried about.
Right.
It's not the actual size. And that's my next question. I know y'all do a lot of research, and Speckled Truth does a lot of research. When does a female produces the most eggs? You know what I'm saying? What size is the actual, I know you know the answer. That's why I'm going to ask.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the things I've been trying to do is state facts based on scientific research, not opinions. And if someone comes to me with a correction that's backed by data or science, I will flat out correct myself and update it. And I've taken a little flack because some of the facts that I've put out there are from South Carolina DNR research, and they don't necessarily apply to your area or Texas, for example. So here in South Carolina, a 4-year-old trout is 20 inches long. In your area, it's probably 22, 23 inches. So
our trout habitat's not the best here in Mississippi. Now, when you go to Texas, it's a whole different ball game for sure.
So in that, like a 23-inch trout is, I think, like in a Laguna Madre, that's more realistic. Mm-hmm. So that's why I was saying before, this isn't really about 20 inches. It's kind of, with Eye Strike, I've realized that marketing is a big thing. Release over 20 is a catchy name. It's something for people to rally around, but it's more setting your own upper slot and then following it. So a 4-year-old trout is actually probably a good benchmark, in your area, whatever the 4-year-old trout is. Maybe you set your limit at 22 or 23. It's just that you see my point there. That's what I'm getting at.
It's like in Texas, those guys throw 20-inch trout away all the time. They're looking for 30-inch trout.
Exactly.
20-inch trout, they cull them, no doubt. But a 20-inch trout in Mississippi or maybe South Carolina where you're at, it's a pretty decent trout.
Yeah, and in Charleston, we probably have one of the worst trout fisheries in the country because we have these gargantuan tides. A 6 to 8 foot tide is pretty common here.
Wow.
And they're getting more every year. But a 20-inch trout is a good trout here. I've been lucky to have 9 so far this year, and 6 of them were on the same day. But in a year, I'm not going to catch a whole mess of 20-inch trout. That's a good fish for here. 30-inch trout, I don't even know if there's going to be one caught in the whole entire state. Just to give, so it's relative. It's different by state and area.
Yeah. So y'all are pretty much in the same realm as we are.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I thought you all had real big trout down there too. I have no idea.
We do have some big trout, but 30 inches, I've seen maybe 1 or 2, 3 maybe down here. Usually 20, 21, 22 inches is a bigger trout down here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. South Louisiana would have some bigger ones, right? Just to the west of us. So
yeah, when you get towards Louisiana and Texas, that's when the cow, and then down to Florida, of course, is when
where the habitat's a lot more, extensive. But anyway, it doesn't really matter what those numbers are, but what's truthful is that the largest fish are female, primarily. A male trout's not going to get much over like at the most 23 inches, but more often 21 is like a 7-year-old trout here in Charleston. That's an old trout. That's a gator. 21-inch male is really big. So, but the bigger they get, they lay exponentially more eggs. So again, reference to Charleston, it's like an 11-inch trout lays about 3 million eggs a year. An 18-inch trout is up to like 17 million, and a 20-inch trout's about 20 million eggs a year. And that's a single fish. And what I didn't realize until I started, asking more of the wildlife biologist, is that I always thought that trout spawned on the full moons from like May through September, and that's it. And that was completely wrong. They spawn about every 4 to 5 days.
Oh, wow.
Crazy if you think about it. They drop off a little bit in the heat of summer, and then they pick back up in the fall. But they are spawning like crazy. So you can see when you talk about million, it's 20 million eggs is a lot of eggs. Of course, they don't all grow into fish, but it's a statistical thing. The more eggs are out there, the more fish there are going to be, in the estuary. So yeah.
Is there an answer to that number? How many actually make it? How many of those eggs actually?
I don't know. And like I said, if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to even.
Right.
Yes.
But that's coming in the comments right here. I got one asking that same question right there. But we could probably look that up, Joey, ourselves, and then put it in the comments after this is over with if we can figure it out. Yeah,
I see that question there. So I don't know the answer, and we can find it and try to post it. But the other fact that's kind of interesting that I think a lot of people didn't know is how a measure of how rare a 20-inch trout is. And again, this is South Carolina referenced. If you start with 1,000 trout, year 0, these are the fingerlings. After 4 years, there's only going to be 8 of those trout left.
Wow.
And that has to do with natural mortality, angling, people keeping, catching, all in. 8 out of 1,000 is a 20-inch trout 4 years later. So when you catch one of those fish, you start to understand how special that thing is. You want to treat that thing like how special, equal to how special it is. You don't want to be dropping it in the boat, keeping it out of the water forever if you're going to release it. If you want to release it, you want to handle it right. One thing that I do is I have a bubbler on my boat with a live well, with air bubbler in it. And when I catch a fish, I'll usually throw it in there just to keep it alive while I get all my camera and ruler ready and stuff like that. And then I'll take it out, quickly take the picture, and then release it. And there's just things you can do like that to help ensure that they're going to live once you let them go.
That's
Yeah.
And the other thing I want to say is that this initiative is not about releasing every fish that you catch. I get that feedback sometimes too. I kept 3 the other day for dinner. It's about sustainability. So it's really just making sure that we have equal or more fish in the future than we have now, and hopefully better quality fish too. I'll stay right now. I think all species of fish should have an upper slot. Let those big ones live, let them spawn. There'll be bigger fish to catch and target. People can start traveling to your state. I've personally traveled specifically to catch trout to North Carolina, Louisiana, and Texas.
Yeah.
And can you imagine if they pull the gill nets out of North Carolina, what the fishery will be there? I mean, the whole country is going to want to go to North Carolina to target gator trout. It'd be amazing.
I got a buddy in North Carolina that catches pretty good trout up there. I mean, they got a pretty good.
That's with gill nets too.
Yeah. They catch a bunch of trout. He shows me pictures all the time. So
yeah,
his name's Andrew, and he kills it up there. So I don't know. I think the upper slot is good, especially even redfish, snapper, triple tail, and then that's where you get into that slippery slope of, well, I caught a 25-pound snapper and I can only keep 2. You want me to throw it back? You know what I'm saying? That's kind of like, where do you draw the line? If you can eat some, you can keep some. You just got to know how to balance it out, correct?
And I agree. But I think my argument though is if you have a certain limit where they've got a few years to be free to spawn, unharassed, then it's going to result in more numbers to catch in the slot in the future, so that you don't have to get to these measures of closing fisheries and cutting the creel down to almost nothing. Just let the big ones go, and then hopefully have plentiful fish for everyone to keep if they want, that are not in the slot. That are in the slot.
Right. And
I love to see how that, like, you as the angler is the one pushing for the conservation, because whether you're talking about fishing or like hunting a lot, right? People, especially in hunting, people kind of get offended for some reason now, new age kind of thing, and they don't realize that it's the outdoorsman that wants to protect the resource, especially the recreational guy, as much or more than anybody else, whether that be an elected official or Department of Marine Resources or whatever. And I think you're proof positive of that, and that's really cool.
Well, not just me, but the 5,000 or 6,000 followers on Instagram and the 2,000 on Facebook, and growing every day by 10% a month.
Correct.
It's gaining traction. I think it resonates with people. And
Kyle's mentioned it before, and you touched on it at the beginning. It's like changing the mindset, using social media as a tool, which is, wow, something positive comes out of social media. That's awesome, right? Changing the mindset of the meat haul, with the picture on the front of the boat with way more meat than you could probably eat, right? I mean, unless you're giving it away or donating to some homeless shelter or something, right? To saying, hey, let's keep it alive like you're doing. Think it through, put it in a live box, get your phone ready, take that picture and cherish that, and send those bigger fish back so that you can catch more of them. I mean, to me, it does. It makes a lot of sense, and still catch what you want to eat when you're ready for it.
Exactly. That's the gist of it. And it'd be really cool if we get to a point someday where you're beating your chest based on how many 28-inch trout you caught and released, instead of how many you caught and laid on your deck and put in the cooler. If I think how much enjoyment do I get out of going out fishing, having a lot of fish to catch and quality fish to catch, and you catch that one trophy, I get just such a high off that, versus if I bring back a fish and have it for dinner. Well, I really enjoy that, but I enjoyed that for 15 minutes, and that fish is not going to be caught again. I just as long as the grocery store is open, I'll have a fish too every so often for dinner and enjoy it. But I don't need to lay the deck out full of fish and put them in the freezer and then eventually chuck them out.
Right.
Just personal feeling. I think a lot of people agree, though.
Yep. Is there research that shows the turnaround time? Like if everybody did the 20-inch trout release, what would it take? How many years to get where you needed to be back up?
I don't think that. Well, there may be, based on like when I know like Texas has put in some upper slots in Florida. There's a captain in Florida. I've never met him. His name's Tyler Capella. He's pretty well-known captain in Tampa Bay. And he tagged us on a post about a year, maybe it was like 6 months ago. And he said, ever since that Florida sort of closed the fishery for trout, or at least severely reduced the catch and creel.
Yeah, he said it's been like 3, right?
And it's been like 2 years since they did it. Yeah. He said he is having the best trout season he's ever had in terms of quantity and quality. So it doesn't take long. I mean, they're like I said, when they're laying 20 million eggs of fish, they're serial spawners and they're resilient and they will rebound fast. And here's another example. We get a lot of freezes here in Charleston, and our populations are primarily affected by freezes. If we have a really cold winter where water gets down into the mid 40s for like a week, we're going to have a very significant kill of trout.
And I think it's what just happened in Texas, right?
It is.
Everybody was worried about down there.
It's quite rare in Charleston. I mean, in Texas, but it's not rare in Charleston. It's about every 7-8 years it happens here. It's pretty often. But we had one in 2018 where it got really cold, down in the 30s overnight, had 6 inches of snow and whatever, and it was really, we were all freaking out and we're worried. The DNR did something cool where they had a let them spawn, let them live campaign where they just encouraged anglers to let all their fish go. And this was the inspiration for this release 2021 Texas thing that we just did with Speckled Truth, where we just made decals. Z-Man and us partnered, put some money in, made a bunch of decals, hashtag release 2018 SC, and just kind of get everyone on board with that. And the numbers don't lie. If you look at, like they do, the DNR does trawling and travel net surveys, and they can tell statistically what the populations are doing. And you can sure enough see a drop off 2018, but then like 2019, it went raging back. I mean, and we are currently this year is the best trout population and year we've had since I've been fishing. They set a record in the travel net in the Cape Romaine area where it was like the most trout they've ever caught in a single travel net this year. So record trout season we're having right now. And a lot of 23 inches. So there's a year class of like 23-inch trout, which is a really good trout for here. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of them. I've caught a couple, and I've had a lot coming in release over 20. Those fish all survived the 2018 freeze, and they're 5 or 6 years old. So angling, people participating in releasing, it really has a significant effect. You can tell it's in the numbers.
For sure. So you're talking I mean, they're so quick, and they spawn so much 1 year, 2 year, and they're right back up to where it needs to be.
Yeah. And that's what we were trying to get across in Texas is like, if you just let all your fish go in Texas this year, 2021, just let them go. It's not that big of a sacrifice. It's 1 year. Let all those fish that survive, let them spawn. And the impact in the next 2 or 3, 4 years is going to be a lot higher than if people just kept going in and harvesting fish like they always have. So.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, that's it's worth it. It's and again, I think it's conquering that the philosophy or whatever of keeping as much as you can to prove how good you are, right? You change the mind on that, and then people will be willing to do it. And like you say, I mean, proof is there that they will rebound, and it increases the fun. It increases that high, like you mentioned, that you get when you catch those big trout. We've all experienced that before. Yeah. Catching a nice fish. And it's all around a positive thing. I'm glad to hear that you're saying growing online with the social media platforms 10%. That's awesome too. So that's where you can do it. You can make you can put a big dent in it if you get the social media stuff on board, for sure.
Yeah, and the cool thing has been that the response in outside of South Carolina, Virginia is our biggest participant.
Really?
They have the most releases, and man, they catch. There's some individuals up there that are catching some huge trout and lots of them. And Texas is number 2, and people from all around the country are participating like crazy. And I think slowly as word spreads, it's growing. It's pretty neat. And hopefully I'll have the problem of having to get some help. And I'm also trying to figure out a way to spin this off into its own entity. Right now it's kind of like I'm using all iStrike's resources to handle a lot of the cost. And I've done that for a reason, and that's to avoid overhead.
Right.
If I get my own domain name and web hosting and secure sockets and all, pay for the database features and everything like that, then when people donate to initiative, some of it's got to go to overhead. And
Right.
I've been trying to avoid that, but I think I'm going to have to eventually. And I also don't want people to think that iStrike's benefiting from it. It's just, I'm just doing it to try to save overhead. But like I said, it's a passion project, and I'm just doing it on my own time.
Well, that brings up another point that we mentioned before we went live here. Didn't you say you just created an actual Facebook page for it, right? You could send people there.
Kyle, if you're listening,
it's hot off the press.
It's hot off the press. Like 30 minutes ago, I made a Facebook page. So appreciate the suggestion. It doesn't have anything in it yet, but it will soon.
Yeah, well, killer, man. That's probably the best place to send people. Did you say you're on Instagram as well? They can check
Instagram's our primary social media at ReleaseOver20. And so here's how I didn't mention how this works. So
yeah, I was about to say, tell us how this works.
Yeah,
we've been talking about it for
I might want to do that.
32 minutes. Yeah,
a cliffhanger, man. You got to keep them.
Yeah. So here's how I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to reward conservation behavior, and I'm doing that by when you catch a 20-inch trout, and now it's also floundered, and that ain't going well so far. But I'm hoping eventually to add more fish. People don't want to release a flounder. I'll tell you that right now. Flounder are screwed.
Yeah, they're delicious.
They're delicious, and I agree, and so does my wife.
Yeah.
But for that, every single flounder that's keeper size is a female, at least in South Carolina. The males only get about 13.5 inches. Most people don't know that.
No.
And then when we kill and eat all the females, guess what? The numbers decline, and it's happening from the entire range of flounder. They're all in decline. But anyway, I digress. But anyway, so when you catch and release, if you catch and release a fish, all you got to do is take a snapshot. This is an honor system. I'm not like policing if it's a 1/4 inch under or whatever. I'm just trying to reward people for doing the right thing, letting their fish go. Take a picture. I don't care if you're holding it up. I almost prefer you holding it up so I can repost it. But I'll take it on a ruler. I'll take a screenshot of a video. Doesn't matter. Go to releaseover20.com. So I do have that domain name. That takes you straight to a form, and you can do it on your cell phone while you're on the boat. It takes just 2 seconds. It's super fast. And then when you do that, you have the option to release or to receive decals. So this is what I call the OG decal. This is our logo. But I also have this one, which is getting to be really popular. This is what I call the QR code. So what I have, just as for example, I have this on the console of my boat. And all you got to do is open your phone camera app so it looks like a live image, and it'll pop up the link directly to the entry form. So we have some charter captains here who are loving this thing because they can just tell their clients, okay, point your phone at that, enter information, you get these free decals. So I send these out completely for free. And I've had some people that are like serial enterers. I've had a guy in Virginia, Corey Mayo, submit 55 fish in last November, I think. Wow. And it got to be a little pricey, but also, I mean, who needs 55 of these things, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I made this. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
I saw somebody the other day with those stickers on the center console where they just released 20 or so trout.
These ones?
Might have been, yeah, those right there.
Yeah. So the helmet decal, this is just like, you know, football player helmets or
get a tackle,
or you know, side of a fighter jet, all their little kills.
Yeah, that's
you
what
know?
I was thinking of on the side.
And what I do myself is this is how I tally my release over 20s for the year, and I just stick them on the inside of my boat, and now I know I've got 9, and I'm just going to keep on going. Maybe when the year's over, I'll peel them all off and start again in 2022.
Yeah,
but
Kyle says he's got a bunch of QR stickers. He's about to give them out tomorrow, and then Rocky Brooks, I don't know if you know him, but he owns a local tackle store down here. He said he needs one for his window for sure.
All right, cool.
Rocky over at CS.
And he catches trout that big, so he'll probably get some anyway.
Yeah, man.
Yeah.
Well, if you can get a hold of me through the media, and I'll send you some, or Kyle can send you some. But anyway, these are free. These are completely no cost to the people entering fish. It's just rewarding people for entering their fish. It's funded by apparel. And I've got some solar shirts I'm getting made up again, and private donations, which are all on our store at istrikefishing.com. There's a category for release over 20. You can also buy these decals at our cost. It's $1.75 delivered to your door, which just covers like the cost of the sticker, the cost of the postage, and it's a wash for us. But the cool thing is that every time you enter a fish, I've lined up some amazing sponsors. I don't know if you've seen the page or not, but
yeah,
Z-Man, Salt Strong, Mirror, Bubba, Toadfish. It's a lot of heavy hitters, and even a lot of smaller people that are on board. They'll just contribute a few things, and I'll take anything. And all I ask from those sponsors is that they send me some stuff, and I give it all away, 100% of it. I got a huge corner of the shop just full of just stuff to donate. I just got a bunch of stuff from Waterloo Rods, and so what I do is I pull out a selection of all that stuff, and then I take a picture of it. If you look on our Instagram, you'll see the past giveaways. It usually amounts to like $200 or $300 worth of stuff. Prime Gancho donates always like a bunch of solar shirts, hats, lots of good stuff, and then I pick on live Instagram and in random.org I do it live. I pick a winner, and I send them that huge pile of stuff, and they're so thrilled to get it. And it's good for the sponsors' exposure, and it shows them that they support conservation. I love giving it away. The people love getting it. It's good all around. I'm trying to be like the most positive thing you've ever seen on social media.
Yeah.
I won't tolerate people like bashing other people. Like, oh, the fish are in the gills. Well, I try to use it as a learning experience. Hey, at least they're trying to release their fish, but how would you suggest that they do it? Maybe you post a video showing proper release, and we'll all learn from it, and not piling on people. And believe me, I get a lot of haters. I get people saying, you're virtue signaling, and you're, you think you're making a difference, but it doesn't make a damn bit of difference, and blah blah blah. And I just try to ignore it. I'm just doing my own thing and keep on rolling. And I believe that, what I'm saying is the right thing, and it's backed by science. And I just think that I just try not to let that bother me, and I really try to keep the page 100% positive.
Well, you mentioned it right there, backed by science. So that right there can debate, or put to bed like you're not making a difference. You think you are, but you're not, right? So it's like, let's talk to the Department of Marine Sources, the CCAs and stuff like that, and see if it is, because I'm sure you're the type of guys, if it wasn't, you'd be like, okay, let's reevaluate and figure out why, right? And the virtue signaling part, that's a good one, because and I was going to say this earlier too, it's like there's a big difference between letting people buy into something on their own, because sometimes even if your congressman would make this rule, obviously people are going to follow it because they don't want to get fined or lose their fishing privileges or whatever, but they may resent it more, right? If you kind of coax people into it through good information and social media buy-in, they're a lot more likely to participate in it and enjoy it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And since you're not shoving it down people's throat, and you just said you like to keep your group positive, that's not virtue signaling. That's the opposite of that. Those people are they're going to make you do what they want to do, right?
And, you know, and it's funny, when someone first said it to me, I had actually to look it up. What the hell is that? And you know, one of the definitions is like disingenuous, and it's like, you know, it's bullshit, because if I stop this initiative today, I'm still releasing all my trout over 20 because it's something I believe in. You know, and I had a buddy I took out the other day, and he commented, you know, it's pretty cool to see, and you caught that 20-inch trout. There was no hesitation. You took care of that thing and you put it right back, and it wasn't any like, oh, maybe I'll keep this. He's like, you just did it. And I'm like, well, yeah, that's what I do. You know,
I got the hat. On the hat.
Yeah. Put it on the hat. But yeah.
But that's awesome, man. And where you started on Facebook? Facebook is your main page. I mean, you just started the main page. Instagram's your main page, right?
Instagram's the main page. Yeah.
And where do we submit these pictures? It says everything online.
Releaseover20.com. Super easy to remember. You type that in, and even better if you have that QR code on your boat, which I just gave a bunch of these to Kyle to hand out in your area. And you know, if there's any shops like your friend there, I'm more than happy to send a stack of these anywhere for free. If you want to put them on your countertop and hand them out to people, you know, we're trying to get more and more people to do it. And that's the way. You just give stuff out for free, you know, decal. But that makes it really easy. Just point your phone at it and you're good to go. You can enter that fish. A lot of people think if they tag me on Instagram or Facebook with a picture that it counts, and it doesn't. And I tell them that every time. You have to enter it. Yeah. And here's the reason why. I have a day job. I'm a engineer. I have iStrike, which is pretty much the second full-time job. I have a family. I try to go fishing when I can. I don't got time. I'm not tracking everyone down. There's no way. I'm not herding cats like that. You got to enter it there. Why? Because it goes in a database. All I got to do is download that into a spreadsheet, and it makes my life easy. And that's why I do it.
So you're telling us you're a real person.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm a real person. Yeah. I'm just an average guy. I'm no different than anybody else.
That's right.
I'm just sort of a glutton for punishment.
Yeah, for sure.
We can relate a little bit to that.
I bet you can.
Yeah.
But hey, I wanted to give a shout out to Speckled Truth and Kyle and Chris and the guys. I haven't met Edward, but I've met Keith, and we're like brothers together. Our organizations are very, very much similar.
Yeah. In
that we're all trying to do the same thing, and they're the pioneers of it. And I have an incredible amount of respect for those guys. And if you don't follow them, you really need to. They're paving the way. And I'm just, you know, the difference, the overlap is a lot, but the difference is that I'm not all about trout per se, and I'm not necessarily educating people on big trout or how to catch them. I'm just trying to encourage people to release big fish. And that it also pertains to really any inshore fish, but I just started out focusing on trout. And like I said, I folded in flounder in 2021. It might eventually make it broad ranging, but I'm just trying to keep it manageable for now. But, you know, I could definitely see snook being in there. Anything that doesn't necessarily have an upper slot right now. Redfish, for the most part, across the country already have an upper slot. But you know, we have a upper slot for redfish here in Charleston or in South Carolina. It's been wildly successful. There's probably 300 plus guides in Charleston, which is a lot. And most of them make their living off bull redfish. We have an incredible fishery, bull redfish here in Charleston. It's easy to catch them. It's like bread and butter. You go out there and catch a 40 to 50-inch redfish because of that upper slot. And there's so many fish now that they school in the colder months after they're done spawning. They go near shore, and it's becoming a thing where people target these schools. They can go out there. You've seen them, I'm sure, online, but you can come up on a school of 500 fish that are 45 to 50 inches long, and they'll eat anything you throw at them. It's just crazy cool. But that if you didn't have that upper slot, that wouldn't be there. So upper slots work. They really do.
Yeah. We have one, and I don't want to the last thing I want to catch, not catch, but the last thing I want to keep is a 40-inch redfish. Yeah. I don't want to clean that. I don't have anything to do with that. I might as well just let that thing go and swim and have a nice day. It's like a 18 to 27 inch, like a slot redfish. I'm good with eating those, but the 40 inches, I'm letting them go for sure.
Sure. Yeah. Coming back, some of this I remembered is, I get a lot of people saying, well, if you catch and release a trout, it's going to die anyway. Well, if you look at Greg, I think it's Sturts or Stunts. He's from Texas. He's a wildlife biologist that my friend Wayne Davis, he does a lot of videos with him, and he's really a leader in understanding fish behavior and posting it out there. He has some videos that show that the survival rate of released trout is a lot higher than people think. I think that changes if you keep them out of the water for so long that they're oxygen deprived, or if you're holding it up for a picture and it drops on the boat 6 feet down on the boat. Yeah. All those things. And of course, when the water's hot, they're more likely to die. But he's shown that they will survive if you handle them right and let them go. Yeah, it's a big number. It's like 80% or more.
We have a few live tournaments around here, and it's don't touch them with your hands. You got to put the special stuff in your live well. I don't know what that's called, but it seems like they do pretty good with them.
Is it for trout?
Yeah, we do live release trout.
Yeah, man, that's wonderful. My friend Dan Connolly up here in South Carolina, he's like a pioneer up here. He started to my knowledge, the first live release trout tournament in South Carolina. And it's growing, and it's really successful. And I participated in it last December. It's in Merle's Inlet, and you bring in your trout, and there's a huge penalty if it's dead. And you really fast bring it up in a cooler full of water. They measure it, and right back in the water it goes. And that's the way of the future. I mean, kill tournaments I think are if you're doing a kill tournament anymore, why? Yeah, there's no reason for it.
And I guess that's through every fish. It doesn't have to be speckled trout. It's for everything.
Right.
That's awesome, man.
Yeah, man. I love what you're doing. We appreciate it. We want to thank you for taking your time out of your evening to come on and chat with us. It's our pleasure. Is there anything we didn't touch on, man, that you want to let the people know before we jump off of here?
I don't think so. I think we covered everything. But, like I said, just if you follow us, tell your friends if you believe in it. Just trying to keep things positive, and releaseover20.com is how you enter your fish. And, if you believe in it, remember that this is all funded by donations. So you have my word that I am not taking a penny. I've never taken a dime off this thing. It just it goes right back to the people participating, every single penny of it. And I donate all my time, which is substantial. And I appreciate you having me on, and to be able to talk, and your followers are probably mostly in your general area, Upper Gulf Coast, and I don't think there probably not a lot of people have heard what I'm trying to do with this yet, and hopefully a lot more people get on board. You might have saw a little girl in Alabama, which is pretty close by, little Raylan Bosarge, won our giveaway. She's like 8 or 9 years old, and that little girl has caught more trout than most adults. like some beautiful 28, 29-inch trout, big ones. So, you know, get families with kids involved, and she's 100% on board, and she's probably telling all her friends. So, you know, let's just try to spread it.
Yeah,
see what we can do.
That's how it works, man. If there's any ever a time that we can help out with anything, you want to jump back on here for any reason, any announcements or whatever, don't hesitate to let us know. It's an open invitation.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, hopefully I'll come down there and visit y'all in person, and that'd be cool.
Yeah, we want to get involved with the tournament for sure.
Great.
All right, man. Well, you have a great evening, and we appreciate it. We'll see you all on the next one.
All right. Thanks a lot, guys.
Easy, man.
All right. Take care.
All right, Joey. Another one in the books. Oh, I removed Joey. Look at that.
Hey,
yeah, you're back. You're back. All right, man. That was a good one. Through the interwebs, didn't have no too bad technical issues. So
not till right now. You look like you're like breakdancing with your dial-up internet, bro.
All right, well, let's get out of here then.
All right,